Celebrities often put on a smile and handle questions with grace during interviews, but sometimes the questions cross a line and become too disrespectful to ignore. Here are moments when celebrities shut down interviewers who went too far. Matthew McConaughey wasn't too happy when asked about his stance on gun ownership. The 55-year-old actor appeared on The View to promote his children's book, Just Because. After sharing how important the book is to him as a father of 3, the discussion shifted to whether he might run for office, something he considered 2 years ago. Co-host Sunny Hostin complimented Matthew for speaking out against violence, particularly gun violence, and asked if he was still thinking about running for office. Matthew replied that right now he's focused on being a good dad. But things got a bit awkward when Joy Behar asked if he thought he could win in Texas with an anti-gun stance. Matthew pointed at her and firmly said, "Talking politics like that is a game I'm not interested in playing." That's when Joy quickly backed off, saying, "Okay, don't do it." Next up on the list is Tom Cruise. He had a heated exchange with a reporter during a 2005 interview that has resurfaced online. It kicked off when the reporter, Overton, asked Cruise if he felt discriminated against due to his association with Scientology, mentioning that some people view the religion as lunatic fringe. Is it just me, or was that an indirect insult from Overton? Cruise stayed cool, simply saying, "No one's ever said that to me." The conversation quickly turned even more uncomfortable when Overton asked Cruise increasingly personal questions about his divorce from Nicole Kidman. When Overton asked if Kidman was the love of his life,
What do you mean, Peter?
You were married for 10 years?
Listen, we raised children.
Cruise responded, "How do you answer that question?" But Overton kept pushing, insisting people wanted to know. Eventually, Cruise had enough, telling Overton to put his manners back in and warning him that he was crossing a line. Christina Hendricks paused a TV interview after the host called her full-figured, a label that clearly didn't sit well with the Mad Men star. During her chat with Sydney Sun-Herald fashion editor Kate Waterhouse, things took a turn when Waterhouse asked, "As a full-figured woman, you've inspired many. What's the most inspiring story you can remember?" Hendricks, visibly annoyed, looked off-screen and replied, "I don't know. I don't know." After a PR rep prompted Waterhouse to rephrase, Hendricks cut in saying, "I mean, you just said it again." Her rep then shifted the focus back to the event Hendricks was in town for, the launch of Specsaver's Spectacle Wear of the Year. The interview wrapped up on a lighter note, with Hendricks discussing her time in Australia. Off-camera, Hendricks reportedly said she found being called full-figured rude. At the Toronto International Film Festival, Tom Hardy made it clear he's not a fan of questions about his sexuality. During a press conference for Legend, where he plays notorious gangsters Ronnie and Reggie Cray, a reporter from Daily Extra asked if it's hard for celebrities to talk about their sexuality.
Question.
I was wondering if you find it difficult for celebrities to talk about their sexuality.
I don't find it difficult for celebrities to talk about their sexuality. Are you asking me about my sexuality?
Sure.
Why?
Why?
Thank you.
Okay.
The reporter pointed out Ronnie Cray's openness in the film and mentioned Hardy's past interviews, which seemed a bit unclear on the topic. Hardy, clearly frustrated, shot back, "What on earth are you on about?" When the reporter asked again, Hardy snapped, "Are you asking me about my sexuality?" After the reporter confirmed, Hardy simply replied, "Why?" and ended the conversation with a cold, "Thank you," shutting down the question completely. In a 2011 interview, Jonah Hill made it clear that he was done talking about his appearance, especially when a reporter crossed the line by asking if he was still considered the fat guy in Hollywood after his significant weight loss. Hill had been open about his decision to become healthier, explaining that he simply wanted to live a better lifestyle and consulted a nutritionist. But when the reporter pressed further, trying to relate their own experiences with being the fat one, Hill didn't hesitate to shut it down. He paused for a moment, then bluntly responded, "Do you have any other questions?" "That are smart?" His sarcastic reply made it clear the topic of his body or weight was off limits for the rest of the conversation. A good way to shut the reporter up, huh? A few years ago, Dakota Johnson was celebrated on the internet because of this interview with Ellen DeGeneres. One of the key moments in Ellen DeGeneres' downfall happened during this awkward interview, and you've probably seen the memes about it. Ellen tried to joke about not being invited to Dakota's 30th birthday party, implying she'd been purposely left out, but Dakota quickly set the record straight, saying Ellen was invited.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of shit about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
Well, who doesn't want to be invited to a party?
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Of course I like you. You knew I liked you.
After some back and forth, with Johnson insisting she was on the guest list, Ellen eventually conceded that she had indeed received the invitation, but had likely overlooked it, joking that the Malibu location was too far for her to attend. The very next day, Ellen was spotted at a Dallas Cowboys game with George W. Bush, which stirred even more backlash. Since Bush's administration had supported anti-LGBTQ policies, many found it controversial considering Ellen's LGBTQ identity. The combination of the Dakota call-out and her connection with Bush seriously damaged Ellen's nice persona and changed the public's perception of her. When an Australian journalist tried to call out Gordon Ramsay over a well-done steak, claiming it was overcooked, Ramsay wasn't having it. He immediately fired back, pointing out that the journalist should have raised the issue with the staff while it was still an issue, not after the meal. Known for his bluntness, Ramsay quickly dismissed the complaint, pointing out that the steak was cooked as ordered, even though cooking a steak well done is considered a culinary misstep. His no-nonsense attitude shut down the journalist's attempt to make a scene. Moving on, in an interview with The Telegraph, Joaquin Phoenix became visibly upset when asked if his film Joker might inspire viewers with a mass shooter mindset. Initially, he walked out of the interview but returned after talking with a Warner Brothers PR representative. Phoenix explained that the question caught him off guard, as it was something he hadn't been asked before, and he decided not to answer it directly. I mean, how do you throw out such a sensitive question like that? Anyway, Phoenix later gave a response, stating that the audience should be able to distinguish between right and wrong. During an Entertainment Tonight Canada interview, Megan Fox was visibly uncomfortable as a reporter relentlessly focused on her appearance and flirted with her instead of discussing the film she was promoting. The interview, which also featured her co-star, Johnny Simmons, became increasingly awkward as the reporter repeatedly commented on Fox's looks and suggested that every man she meets flirts with her. Despite Fox's attempts to redirect the conversation, such as calling the reporter a silly man, the reporter continued, the tension escalated when the reporter remarked that Fox's look at him was a sign of flirting, immediately backtracking with an awkward, "I'm kidding," after realizing his mistake. Fox let out an exasperated sigh, clearly annoyed, while Simmons shifted uncomfortably. The interview took another strange turn when the reporter asked an inappropriate question about visiting a club where women dance for money. At this point, Fox rolled her head back in frustration. At the Toronto International Film Festival premiere of Our Brand is Crisis, Sandra Bullock had a sharp response to a reporter who questioned her character's hair color. The reporter was confused about why her political strategist character didn't seem to care about her noticeable gray roots. Bullock quickly explained that root growth is natural and that her ashy blonde hair was a choice to show her character's stage in life. She added that the messy look symbolized her character's attempt to move past her old wealth and success. The actress also made headlines when a reporter made jokes about her nude scenes in a movie. And another asked her to cut his hair during a press junket for the film. Without missing a beat, she firmly responded, "I wouldn't know where to begin. I'm not a barber. No, I will not cut your hair. Go to a barber." Her confidence in handling inappropriate questions is truly something to admire. During an interview for Avengers Age of Ultron, Robert Downey Jr. got frustrated with UK Channel 4's Krishnan Guru Murthy when the interviewer asked about controversial comments Downey made in a 2008 interview. Downey Jr. didn't want to revisit the past, explaining that his views had changed over time. And that's understandable, isn't it? But Guru Murthy wouldn't let it go. Things got more uncomfortable when he pressed Downey Jr. on personal topics like his relationship with his father and his struggles with substance abuse. Downey Jr. fired back, accusing the interviewer of trying to turn the conversation into an emotional, confessional-style interview. Eventually, Downey Jr. ended the interview and walked out. At Variety's Power of Women New York luncheon, Blake Lively took a stand against a question she felt was out of place. While being honored for her work with the Child Rescue Coalition, a Today Show social media rep asked her, "What's your power outfit?" Lively wasn't having it. "Come on, you want to talk about an outfit here today?" she replied. "No way. We're here to build women up. Would you ask a man that?" After a brief back and forth, Lively encouraged the rep to rethink the question, reminding them that this was a moment to focus on something more meaningful. If that's not a badass comeback, then I don't know what is.